I wrote down 40 action plans to take to beat the 7.8% inflation in Australia in 2023. In this video, I'm going to go through my actions and my thought process so I'll never experience financial stress in the coming months and years. Let's dive into it. You can't win a battle without firstly knowing the enemy. So let's look at the table from Australian Bureau of Statistics showing what are the major things causing the inflation. Now, if you live in the United States, the things are going to be very similar to Australia because in developed world, all the factors that's causing inflation are global and they are the same. Now let's start from the item that's suffering most from the inflation, that is housing. Tip number one is for renters. We all know how crazy the rental market is. So if you're a renter, instead of sending just one application for the house you like, send out 10, 20, 30 different applications. What's going to happen then is instead of waiting for the landlord to accept or reject you, you can select and reject some landlords instead. This way you can avoid being priced out by other desperate renters or being rejected by greedy landlords. So my first tip is for renters, that is mass apply for rental properties. My next tip is for mortgage payers. This is the group that's hurt by the interest rate rise most. Now this is the time to shop around, considering lots of your fixed income products are going to go into variable. So my suggestion is 3 months before your fixed period ends, call the bank and renegotiate. Maybe the bank can offer you a new fixed income that's going to be lower than the variable income product, or maybe you can extend your repayment period or simply find a new product or a new bank. The key point is to act now so that you're acting ahead of everyone else that's facing the same fixed income cliff, and the bank will be prioritizing your business ahead of everyone else. Now, I feel sorry for those young people just starting to live independently. Given how high the rent has been and the jacked up prices of almost everything, it must be so difficult for you guys right now. So my advice to you is just to move back with your parents, or if that's not possible, ask your friends. Maybe their parents has a room that can be rented out to you. Now, when you reach out via your personal connections, chances are that you can find a deal that's better than what you can find from those public sources, like rental websites. For those people in extreme difficult situations, for example, you bought a house and currently it's got negative equity, what you can do is go one step further. You rent your house out, moving to a smaller place, maybe apartment or a unit, or you can take it even further and move into a caravan for 6 or 12 months. I guarantee your financial situation will be much better than those people who had to sell their house or their property in the lowest of the market. You'll look back and thank yourself for this decision. The next big item suffering from inflation is food and beverages. Now let's imagine someone that eats takeaway every day with $15 per takeaway. It's going to cost him or her $5,500 in a year. Imagine you're a family of 4. That's going to cost you over $22,000 in this year. If you decide to cook at home, you can cut down this price by a half or even a third. What's more, because you have full control of the ingredients, you can improve your diet and therefore your health in the process. I didn't have the habit of bringing lunch to work before the COVID, but this is what I'm doing now in 2023. It doesn't have to be complex, sometimes just leftover pastas or a sandwich, and I get to enjoy my own cooking as well as knowing that I'm saving money every day. If you want to take things further, there is an old tradition in Australia and probably around the world called a bake day. Basically, you turn on the oven in the morning and you keep making bread for the whole day. The benefit of that is you save on energy. You don't have to wait for the oven to reheat up between the batches. What people do is they keep the bread that they bake in the fridge or the freezer and keep eating it for the whole week. That way you don't have to buy bread, and that saves you even more money. To be frugal but not stingy, and certainly we don't want to sacrifice our health. My next tip is to grow vegetables in your own backyard. I've made a whole video about this topic. You can check it out. Now, if you don't have any time to do that, I can give you some quick tips in this video. That is, go to your local Bunnings or garden center and buy the cheapest pack of vegetable seeds you can get. Usually, these seeds are the easiest to grow and give you an abundance of yield. When I go to supermarket and shop for food, there's always so many choices and lots of marketing campaigns that's affecting my decision making. So what I do is I focus on nutrition rather than packaging or taste or anything else. So I look at the protein, the veggies and the starch, and sometimes even a little treat for myself. Now, we don't have to buy the most pricey item in each category. I choose the reasonably priced product, and by doing that, I'm keeping my body healthy, my mind sharp in these difficult times. Next big thing is quit bad habits, such as alcohol and cigarettes. Now, a pack of cigarettes must be $50–$60 right now. I'm not 100% sure. And I hear the government is increasing alcohol tax. So a bottle of beer could be about $12. I know things are very difficult, but let's treat these items as an exception rather than a habit. And that's going to benefit us financially. Major category is recreation and culture. Now, during school holidays, Christmas, New Year, we all want to take a nice family holiday. But instead of going to Europe, the United States, UK, these expensive countries, we can swap that for cheaper countries like Asia. Now, a friend of mine recently came back from Hawaii and told me a bottle of beer there costs $20. That's definitely more than what I'm willing to pay. So my next holiday destination is going to be one of those Asian countries. Maybe Bali, Thailand, Vietnam. I know the money in my wallet can go a long way, and that gives me peace of mind and makes me relax even better. If you haven't done this in a long time, go on a road trip and camping. I tell you, kids love this. If you think gears are too expensive, or just take more trips so that on average they work out cheaper. And remember, there's always holiday parks where you can have good facility, such as having a hot shower and still be able to see the Milky Way. No secret for saving on holidays is to go on holiday with other families, so that when families are combined, you can find Airbnb or rental properties that can sleep 10 to 12 people. On average, each family can save 20–30% on accommodation, and that is a big saving. What's more, you can always go out on holidays with different families, different friends to have a unique experience. Let's not forget, part of the tax and council fee we pay goes to hosting community events and services. For example, in my area, my council has a free library, swimming pool. They host events in the local park, Christmas carols, movie night. Once a year, there's even a concert. These events are filled with festival vibes, and the best thing is they cost zero. Next holiday tip is to avoid popular seasons. You know, Christmas, New Year, Australia Day, school holidays are usually very expensive. They can be about 50% more expensive, sometimes up to 100. So my tip to you, if you don't want to pull your kids out of school, is to look for shoulder seasons. That is the very beginning or very end of school holidays. And sometimes I find deals that's very cheap in those days. Moving on to furnishing, household items and services. My first tip in this category is to do things yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, I fully respect tradesperson and their skills. My point is, let's all do things within our ability so that we can avoid unnecessary costs to those tradesperson and leave them to do the professional jobs we absolutely can't do. So things like fixing a garage door handle or fixing a leak or sometimes even patching a wall, we can do that ourselves. I would avoid dangerous jobs or those things that can incur a very high cost if we stuff up. So things like electrical jobs or fixing a water pipe behind a wall, these things I would leave it to the tradesperson to do. But everything else, please find some inspiration in my channel. I refuse to pay. I guarantee you'll save lots of money. It happens to me a lot that I usually find a repair job around the house is something I've never done before and I don't have full confidence when I do it. So a good strategy I now use is that I attempt to do it anyway. And if I can't finish it or I failed, I'll just call in a tradesperson and finish the job for me. The benefit of that is when the trade person comes in and does the job, I can always observe or ask questions. So that gives me free education to improve my skills, my ability. So if similar things happen again in the future, I have more confidence to do it myself. My next tip is to buy secondhand. Now, you've heard of the saying, buy cheap, buy twice, right? That doesn't apply to secondhand items. In fact, it's quite the opposite. What I do is I go on to Facebook Marketplace or eBay or Gumtree if you're in Australia and look for branded quality items secondhand. So if I find one of those items that's not being abused by the previous owner, what I know is I'm going to enjoy a quality product at a great discount from the retail price. The thing I would avoid buying is new technology. You know what I mean? The new phones, new tablets, electronics, those things depreciate more than anything else. I know the company I work for will retire the laptop every 2 years. That's because they are worth only a fraction of the price when they were new. The worst thing is, as soon as you pay for one item, a week later there's a newer model around the corner. So I wouldn't pay for a jacked up price just to feel good for about a week. Now we're moving on to look at the inflation of transportation. Think about the petrol prices. Biggest tip in this category, keep your old car. I'm happy to report I'm a happy owner of an 11-year-old Mazda CX-7. If you've seen my other videos in this channel, you know I do little DIYs on it all the times. Just want to tell you how happy I am with the old technology, non-turbo engine, the automatic transmission. If I were to buy a new car today, most likely I'll be restricted to turbo engines, DCT or CVT transmissions, which I know is not going to last as long as the car they built back then. Now, if you are one of the owners of the quality old cars, make sure you keep it, and that's going to save you heaps of money. The thing about keeping a car for a long time is you got to make sure you keep up with the service. With my car, I always do my own service. Things like changing the oil, rotating tires, checking the oils and fluids, they are not very hard to do. Now, as I said earlier, I have full respect for the professionals like my mechanic. But for those simple service jobs that they're going to delegate to an apprentice anyway, I just do it myself. That way, I save from $400-500 to $2,000-3,000, depending on what brand of car do you have. Let's take the game one notch up. For short trips, like getting groceries, buying a bottle of milk, we don't need to drive car all the times. I use my motorbike, which is 300% more fuel economy than my car. You can also go for an e-bike, a bicycle, or a scooter. For some of them, you don't even need a license to be able to ride them. That's going to bring down the total cost that you thought otherwise unavoidable. I used to hate walking, but since everyone gets a smartwatch nowadays, walking is more socially acceptable, and sometimes I just walk my kids to school and walk to my local shops instead of driving or riding my bike to there. Walking saves 100% of the fuel expenses, so there's zero cost and it boosts your health. I can't think of a way better than walking to save money and improve your health at the same time. The last tip in transportation may sound like a cheat. Here it is. If you don't have to go out, just don't. So lots of us are working from home nowadays, and I find that I can save up to $30-40 each day if I choose to spend the day at home rather than going out. Because, considering all the costs of transportation, petrol registration, sometimes I have to pick up lunch or have a snack, breakfast, a coffee, that all adds up. And all of that means I can have a comfortable day at home, spending no money. So avoid transportation. The next big category suffering inflation is insurance, financial services. I would also add on utility. Now, utility bill is going through the roof. I know it's the same situation in lots of places around the world. So whenever I receive a bill, whether from a letter or my email, instead of paying directly, I always pick up the phone and call the company. The question I will ask them is, convince me why I shouldn't change provider. Now, you'll be surprised. Lots of people, even in big companies, they can offer me to speak directly to their manager, and sometimes they can give me a discount. For those providers that declines to offer a discount, I would really go out and compare their products with what's available in the market. And because of the volatile change in utility prices and other services, sometimes I find very good deals that's a lot cheaper than what I used to get. A recent example is my internet ISP. I switched the provider and saved almost 25% on the cost. Now, I know a full-on budgeting process is not for everyone. For me, what I do is I go through my credit card bills at the end of months, and I look for those recurring bills and recurring items. Things like utility, electricity, gas, internet, telephone, those things are experiencing a lot of inflation nowadays. And because of that, there's a lot of price volatility in the market. Where there is price volatility, there is opportunity. Some companies will offer their products and services a lot cheaper than other companies, and this is where opportunity exists. So my next tip is compare the market periodically, and do that for every service provider that charges you month by month or quarter by quarter. Taking advantage of new user promotion is not only saving you small money. You'll be surprised it doesn't only apply to small items like those shopping websites, meal plan or subscription services, free audiobooks. They also apply to big items like health insurance, like home loans and mortgages. Now imagine if you look out for those new user promotions and switch periodically, that's going to save you thousands of dollars each year. The next tip is about buying appliances that's got a high energy rating. Things like, my grey water toilet that uses hand washing water to flush the toilet, or my heat pump dryer that's going to conserve a lot of energy when drying clothes, or as simple as a double-walled hot water bottle. All of those things will contribute to lower utility bills. But there's a catch here. Saving energy doesn't necessarily mean saving money. So you're going to do the math up front to see how much more you're paying for these type of products comparing to the saving you're going to have during the life of that product. Sometimes being green has a price to pay. before you try to accuse me for not being environmentally friendly, hey, we're talking about doing everything to save ourselves from the inflation, right? If you don't change your lifestyle, you're going to spend a lot of resource and energy anyway. A joke I tell my friends is that before I migrate to Australia, I used to be much more environmentally friendly than all of them. This is because we didn't even own a family car, so we have zero emission from petrol. Using the same method, we can think about how we can save money if you want to take things to the next level. For example, if you want to cool down the whole room using a central aircon, why don't we use a fan for each person that's in the house? That way we lower our comfort level, but at the same time, we can save a lot of electricity and lots of money. Now, I have something to confess here. After many years of working in a fully air-conditioned office, I find myself becoming soft. Yes, I become soft. I can't tolerate heat, I can't tolerate cold. Sometimes I get sick more often when the weather becomes a little extreme. The economy situation is different. So why don't we just toughen up? In the winter, put on more jackets, more coats. In summer, just try to crank up the fan. If we want to have a solid financial situation, it's important to have a tough body and mind. The next category is education. Unfortunately, for higher education, there is a monopoly in the market and we can't change that. But for other type of educations, there's a lot of choices and things are becoming significantly cheaper. For example, for general knowledge and skills, YouTube is a great resource. Otherwise, there are open universities. In Australia, there are government-assisted free TAFE courses. Even if you have to sign up for a university, there's remote learning options which are cheaper than on-campus learning. So make sure you explore those different options and determine what's the best bang for buck education product you are purchasing. If you have school-age kids, tuition fee can cost up to $10,000 from primary school. This is the same in major international cities, as I know. So my next tip is, if you are adequately educated yourself, why don't you teach your kids yourself? See, among everyone in the world, you might be the person that knows your kid the best. And arguably, you should also be the most patient person to go through everything step by step with your children. The time can also be more flexible, anytime from end of school to their bedtime. We can adjust the time frame to meet their needs, and we can adapt to different schedules, to other sports activities, and so on. If you don't really have the time or energy to do that, I totally understand. Instead of sending your kids to a tuition school, just pay for a university or even high school students to do the same thing. These people will charge much less, and you'll be surprised if you find the right person. The help they can provide your kids shouldn't be underestimated. The trick here is you have to go through a few tutors to find the right one. So have that expectation so you can be patient when you go through that process. Just don't assume the first person that you recruited will be the best person. Now, I have a friend that starts to learn piano in his 40s. Another friend continues to improve his guitar skills and play in a local bar as a side hustle. So that makes me think, what's the hurry in terms of educating our children music and art? These are the things they're going to enjoy for the whole life, and there's no rush in spending the money and teach them everything they need to know at a very young age. So considering the inflation environment, the next thing for the parents to think about is to defer those music, art type of education. If your goal is for your kids to enjoy those things in their life, I think part of the enjoyment is continuous learning and continuous improvement, and that means there is no rush to do that in the next year or two. Education doesn't need to be one-on-one. Instead of having a tutor or sending your kids to tuition classes, an alternative is just to get them to read books. There are lots of reference books available from the school library or from the community library. I think all they need is your help to find the right reference book or find the right material for them to study. And with you providing them the guidance, sometimes it's free. It doesn't cost us anything to pick up a book and start explaining to your kids what are the knowledge and the key points in it. I've already gone through the major categories in the inflation CPI table. There are 34 tips in total, and there are another 6 tips I can give you to help you beat inflation even further. Now, before I do that, can I ask you a favor to click on the like and subscribe button, because I have more contents like this coming up in my channel. Tip 35 is swap and use the space for money. What does that mean? That means we can buy things in bulk when they're on sale or when there is a good opportunity. Now, I used to find those 50% off toilet papers or other bulky daily items from the supermarket. Whenever that happens, I buy a lot of them. Yes, sometimes it's a little embarrassing, but for the saving, I think I'm okay with it. I just load them up in my garage behind me. You can see I have a big shelf on my left hand side, and what's that used for is half of that is my tools. The other half is just the bulk items that I buy when they're on discount. They usually last me a very long time, from 3 months up to a year. And who cares? If I have the space, I can make the savings. I'm happy about it. Tip 36. You need to sell unused item for cash. Yes, I mean those things you haven't used for a very long time that might be accumulating dust somewhere in your house. Definitely sell them on Facebook Marketplace, on eBay, or on your local websites like Craigslist or Gumtree. Can I also give you a tip on other items that you might be still using, like an electrical appliance? Some items that uses a lithium battery. These things deteriorate over time as part of their design. So if you want to sell those items, don't wait until they actually breaks, because you're not going to get a lot of money for a broken item. Just make sure you observe how long you have used it and sell the item just before their warranty expires, or for lithium items for 2-3 years, because really that's how long they last, and you would rather sell them before they start to break. Tip 37 is bring water everywhere. This is very true when you go out with your kids on a family day out, but really everywhere else that you go to. It signifies my frugal spirit. A bottle of water doesn't cost much in most cases, but I use it as a reminder of my frugal living spirit. I always carry a bottle of water with me so that I can refill in public water fountains. At the same time, I cut down the use of PET bottles, which are made from harmful plastic. So we're helping the environment as well as reminding ourselves of being frugal. Tip 38 is about technical items like mobile phones and laptops. Instead of buying the top tier item, I find them just not worth it. So my next choice is the flagship item a couple of generations ago. This is usually better than the brand new item in the second tier, because a flagship item is what a company throw all their research, all their resources into. They usually have a better building quality and they last much longer. So I'm a happy owner of a previous generation Samsung Android phone and also a Lenovo laptop, and they both last me a very long time. Tip 39 is about prevent impulse buying. Now I know every year there are the Black Fridays, the Cyber Mondays, the pre-Christmas and post-Christmas Boxing Day sales. Genuinely good deals can be found during these times. But sometimes we just buy too much. We end up buying things not because we need them, but because they are cheap. So how to deal with that? My strategy is I write down a shopping list. The shopping list might be big ticket items I want to buy, not necessarily now, but in the next 12 months. So instead of buying this item straight away, I would wait for the item to be on sale in the next 6 to 12 months time and just buy the item then. So I always keep a separate shopping list to my daily grocery ones, which are specific for big ticket items, and these are the things I would only buy when there is a big discount or big sale. The very last tip number 40, is for people who are bilingual. I'm very happy I know how to read Chinese, so I buy some daily items from a sister site of Alibaba called Taobao. The main customer they're targeting are Chinese customers. So everything on the Taobao website is very cheap, and also the quality is usually pretty good. What I do is I use a overseas aggregator that collects all the local delivery for me, and when they have a box full, they will send the box to me in Australia. This is a great way to save on lots of items I don't immediately need. Of course, the downside you need to consider is sea freight usually is very slow. It takes between a month to 3 months for things to arrive. So you should only buy things from there if you don't immediately need it. Now this is absolutely everything I'm going to do to beat inflation in 2023. If you like some of the tips, please leave a comment below. If you think some of them are ridiculous, don't worry, please leave the comments below to let me know so we can discuss maybe a better way to do things. If you find this video helpful, please click the like button and subscribe. I'll see you next time.